Well, I just saw uh, a movie, I think. Hello and welcome back to another Midnight Showing. As always, I'm Kelly, and I just got a Alice Through the Looking Glass. And wow, I don't know what to do with this one. I don't know if it should classify it as a good movie or a good movie that's plagued with problems or a bad movie that just has some really awesome moments inside of it. This is perplexing, okay? This isn't going to be a jump cut video, don't worry. It's really confusing to me that a movie like this one got made. For one, the first movie wasn't very good. It's not. I watched the Nostalgia Critics review of it. Basically sums up all of its problems. I will still say that the first one had merit. It just wasn't very good. And well, this it did make like $1 billion, like 1 or 2, 3 billion dollars or something like that. I'm not gonna IMDb it, but it's so I guess that in that respect, a sequel was inevitable. But then they canned Tim Burton as director, only bring him on as like a executive producer. So he basically did nothing but write paychecks, and bringing on a new director and let's make a sequel. Let's make the sequel about Alice in Wonderland and call it Through the Looking Glass, even though we took elements like the Jabberwocky from Through the Looking Glass and adapted them inside of Tim Burton's first part. So, yeah, as you can tell, this movie was a big mess. But it was closer to what Alice in Wonderland should be. I know that's kind of weird to say, but yeah, it is. Everyone has a character makeover inside of this movie. They act closer to what they're supposed to be acting like. The Mad Hatter is actually mad, except for the parts where they make him act like he's sick. They're actually having the tea party. Time is just fucking hilarious inside of this movie, and I'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, they all have a character. Alice actually reacts to stuff in this movie. You know, when she's got to do like a dangerous stunt and jump off from freaking something or other and onto a giant clock hand because symbolism. You know, she actually screams when she has to fall or she gets knocked around, and which is a stark contrast to the first Alice in Wonderland, Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland, where she literally is super small, hanging onto a hat that's flying at what seems like probably hundreds of miles an hour, and she's just like, I could react or something. No, in this one, she actually does have emotions, and kudos to the actress whose name I did pull up beforehand and is Mia Washita. Oh, crap. Okay, I'm not even going to try that one. But kudos to her. She really did pull something out. Unlike basically everybody else on the returning cast, even to a degree, Johnny Depp. Now, this is going to be dipping into spoilers a bit, so yeah, my final verdict before I go into any spoilers is I'm really teetering. On the worst side, I can give it a wait for Redbox because it just really wasn't worth the whole price of admission. But visually, the movie is fucking gorgeous, and you really should see some of these things in 3D. So I could almost recommend it as a see in at a discounted price in theaters, like if you go to your cheap theater or if you go on like the $5 Tuesdays that we have here at Megaplex or something like that. It is worth it to do it on those days. It just, the story is kind of bonkers. So yeah, take that as for what it will. As I said, my best recommendation is the discounted theater price. My worst recommendation on this one is wait till Redbox. It really just depends on your preference. If you're actually looking forward to seeing this, if you just like a spectacle of the eyes and don't really give two shits about the story, it's the discounted theater price. But if you actually do care about the story and having a coherent narrative, yeah, you should probably just wait till Netflix or Redbox. It really just depends on your preference with this one. I can't give you a actual, solid answer as a final verdict because part of me is conflicted, and I hope that in the spoiler section you can see why. So yeah, going into the spoiler section, this is a confusing one. So, there's two plots going on, which kind of makes sense for an Alice in Wonderland story. Yeah, I just realized I stuttered that line and said it twice. But it makes more sense because things that happen in the real world are actually having effect in Wonderland. Although they're not actually having a direct threat, they're correlating themes. So you could actually say that, once again, Wonderland's actually a dream, even though they establish it as a real place, and there's several times where you can see that it's a real place, but whatever. There's actually correlating themes and narratives, so there's a point to both these stories, but they are two separate entities, and they are treated as such in the movie. So you have, on the first part, the real world. Alice is still the captain extraordinaire now, sailing the Wonder, which should really be renamed the Under, if you get that joke. And she's outrunning pirates on the high seas, and she's been out for 3 years. She finally comes home and makes conversation with her mother, and turns out that her mother sold the shares that she had into the shipping company that we remember from the first movie, and levied the boat, the Wonder, against their house because the dick that she stood up for marriage in the first movie, I think his name was Hambridge or something like that, is now the leader of the shipping company, and he wants to stick it to Alice. Okay, there's some modern stuff going on here. I'm pretty sure that shares and stocks didn't exist in the 1800s. I'm pretty sure that's not how it worked back then. I'm just taking a wild fucking guess, but I'm pretty sure that happened at the beginning of the 20th century in the 1900s, when the stock market actually became a thing. Not during the 1860s. I'm pretty sure that's how it worked. And you don't really levy... I know there were debts. There are debts. There were such things as debts. So that could have been a way they could have levied the boat against the house. But I'm pretty sure it had nothing to do with shares and stocks. So, whatever. So, basically, Alice has a question now. Does she give up the boat to save her mom and her house? Or does she let the house go, ruin her relationship with her mom, and continue to sail the sea forever and be free? Which was like the whole message of the last movie, right? And that's where the dilemma of the first world comes. It doesn't really get any kind of resolution till the end, or even attention till the end. It's just common themes that play into the Wonderland story, which basically she follows a portal through a mirror because Wonderland, and she turns out that she falls through clouds and lands on a bed of roses where she should be dead, but Wonderland logic, I'm sure it felt like a bed by the time she actually landed on it. Turns out that the Mad Hatter has gone mad. But not in the good way. He has gone mad because he's believing that his family is alive because he found a hat, a little paper hat that he made for his dad years ago. And the only way this could have survived, the way that it could have, is if his family was alive. Even though he saw them die on Hundervash Day, the day that the Jabberwocky fired fire lightning at everything. So, okay, Alice doesn't believe him at first, but she wants to try to save him. So they come up with some cockamamie plan to steal the chronosphere from Time himself, travel back in time to save his family, even though that'll destroy the time-space continuum, and they're told that repeatedly, to basically heal the Hatter. Now, this is a very convoluted plot, if you can't already tell. There's a lot of shit going on, and they just expect you to buy it. And let's just talk about the good aspects. Good aspects. Time, as played by Sacha Baron Cohen, because it's a Tim Burton production, even if he's an executive producer, so we gotta have Helena Bonham Carter, Johnny Depp, and Sacha Baron Cohen, because why the fuck not? But he is by far the best and most entertaining thing in this film. He plays Time as an egocentric jackass. I'm just putting it like that. And it's so good to see Sacha Baron Cohen in a role where he can actually be funny when it's clear that he's ad-libbing some of his lines. Unlike goddamn Brothers Grimsby that just fuck that shit. No, we get this one. His opening introduction is he's basically walking down the halls of his castle inside of this big old shoulder-padded suit that's the same shape as the walls. And he runs into it. He runs into the walls because he kept his shoulders too high and it knocked him over. And it's pretty clear that this is like an ad-lib scene. He just gets back up and he's like, ugh, stupid me-shaped walls. And he like crouches into it and goes, just keeps on walking. The guy is eccentric but not bad. It's one of the things that they could have easily done. They could have made Sacha Baron Cohen another villain that teams up with the evil Queen of Hearts, who they actually gave a name inside of this one, and they keep calling her by it, but she's the Queen of Hearts. Just call her the Queen of Hearts. Seriously, did you not get Alice in Wonderland? We don't need their names. We can call them the Queen of Hearts or the White Queen. We don't need to call them Everbest and Miranda. Seriously, I don't get it. Let's just call them the Queen of Hearts and the White Queen. It's fine. But Alice approaches Time basically to ask to use the chronosphere. And he says messing with time is not a good thing. And the chronosphere is used to power the grand clock that keeps time working. So if you take that chronosphere out of there, time stops and breaks. But maybe time can teach you something. So Alice ends up stealing it, and she goes traveling through time to try to save the Hatter's family, but gets thrown off course due to several stupid events and going through different points inside of the Hatter's life to try to, well, basically piece together what happened. What happened is that the family is still alive and they're being held against their will by the Red Queen because she's a vindictive bitch. But we all knew that was going to be the case. And they did kind of throw it in your face with a couple of very unsubtle foreshadows, including Time just casually killing a guy because his time is up. And everyone is represented by their own pocket watch inside of a hall of pocket watches. When your time is up, he pulls the pocket watch off this wall, he walks into the hall of the dead pocket watches, and he hangs it there, and you officially die. This scene is obviously kind of reminiscent of that scene inside of Hercules, the animated one from 1997, where the Fates, pull up the string and they snap the string. And you hear this, ah, and the soul goes to the underworld. It's very reminiscent of that. In this case, it was done not as well, but still kind of shockingly funny. Is that the second he hangs the clock inside the world of the dead, it cuts to some guy. He's eating soup. He has a heart attack and just falls into it. Just a quick little cutaway, and he's like, he just killed a guy. He killed a guy. He killed a guy. But at the same time, you don't see Time as a villain. It was that guy's time to die. It's just what happens. It's how it works. So, yeah, Time isn't really the enemy here. And by the end, it is the Red Queen who's trying to manipulate his power so that she can become queen and get her sister to admit that she stole a tart when she was a little kid, which caused everything inside of this story and the last one, which I call just bullshit. So much bullshit, but whatever. Needless to say, Sacha Baron Cohen is easily the best part of this film, especially in the little subplot that went on way too long. But he ends up crashing at one of the tea times of the Mad Hatter and all of his guests, where he's tricked into just staying there because Alice was invited, so she must be coming, right? No, we invited her. We never said that she was coming. And they just sit there and make time puns for like 5 minutes, pissing off Time as much as possible. So finally, he curses them, saying that until Alice arrives, it'll always be 1 minute till tea time. So Time leaves and they all try to have their tea, but then Time reverses to 1 minute before tea time because Alice hasn't shown up yet. So they're forever stuck inside of tea time until Alice arrives. Which, if you know the Lewis Carroll novels on this subject, that's actually kind of funny, because the Mad Hatter actually does point out that he thinks that he pissed off time at one point, making it endlessly teen time, hence why he's gone mad, because there is no such thing as another day. Having that actually be played into this movie, which, granted, it's just a subplot little funny scene that's there to pad out the runtime, because this is barely an hour and 30 minutes, and scenes like this just push it up to an hour and 45 minutes. There's a few of those scenes, but it is one of those just funny little tidbits that got a good chuckle out of me. But yeah, let's talk about some of the bad things about this movie. The plot is all over the place with a time travel element. Look, if you're going to do time travel stories, they have to be well written. You have to be really invested and have to write through all of the plot holes. Something that Legends of Tomorrow hasn't been doing very well, and didn't do very well inside their finale, which, yeah, I'm gonna do a video on that, as well as Arrow and Flash. Probably just one video, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But when doing time travel, you have to be very clever about how you write everything. And this movie just wasn't that clever. It knew time travel concepts, but it just didn't know how to do them well. Granted, the way they actually represented time inside of this as an endless ocean with peaks and swells with big events happening, and that's how you determine where you are, and the chronosphere turning into like a little TARDIS ball thing that she's driving through this endless storm. It was visually beautiful. As I said, if you can see this in theaters in 3D for very cheap, I actually recommend it just for some of these visuals, because God, the people who worked on the behind the scenes and all the editing and CGI work, give them a fucking award. This shit looks beautiful. Fire the costumers, because they're all crap, but we'll get to that in a second. But yeah, they didn't do time travel very cleverly. It's paint by numbers, and it's confusing paint by numbers at that. There are things that just happen for the sake of happening inside of this. You have lightning storms inside of this endless time spiral that throw her off. You've got waves of time that crash down on time, which throws him into the aforementioned tea party, but then ends up smacking her ship into another segment of time. And it's just really confusing and hard to follow, especially when she goes back to the real world through the past, somehow ends up inside of the present, and she's in an insane asylum. Wait, what? Did we just miss a scene or two? How is she in an insane asylum? And why is Moriarty trying to inject her with drugs? I don't know what's going on. It's just, what? Yeah, Moriarty is in this film for like 5 seconds as just this crazy guy running a Victorian era insane asylum. I mean, seriously, did they just pop into the Victor Frankenstein movie that came out a few months ago? What is going on? And you are going to get lost. The story's so convoluted, you're going to get lost. Granted, it builds up to a awesome climax when time actually does break and everything starts rusting. It's kind of hard to explain. Everything freezes, but everything freezes into rust. It's kind of weird, but kind of awesome. And again, visually beautiful. The last 20 minutes of this is really breathtaking, and you should watch it just for that. But the story's so convoluted that I can't honestly recommend that you go and see it in theaters, because it just wasn't worth it. So, yeah. And let's go over something that's good. As I said, the characters all got a makeover, acting a lot more like their original counterparts, like they're supposed to, from the novel and the old Disney animated movie. It really doesn't matter, because that's what they're closer acting like. But most everyone just is here because they were in the last movie. They're all just making cameos. Even the White Queen, played by Anne Hathaway, her whole point in this movie is to finally admit to her sister that she stole a tart when she was a little kid, and her sister the Red Queen, the Queen of Hearts, just freaked out about it, went running. She slipped, hit her head, and started to swell. And the more she got angry, it swelled more and more and more. And then we get the whole big-headed. It doesn't make any sense. And why would you waste Anne Hathaway on this? And the whole time she's acting like this. I know she was doing this kind of a bit in the last one, but inside of the Tim Burton movie, it felt like she was doing that with point. She wasn't really doing that to be eccentric. She was doing that because this is the way the character is written. That she is the graceful one like this. Like she's always floating in water almost. Inside this movie it comes off, well, I did this in the last movie, so I'll have to do it now. Oh, but you can do it, Alice, because time will be destroyed if any of us saw our past selves. But because you were never in the past, you could travel through time without breaking it. Yeah, it just doesn't work in this movie at all, especially when they're supposed to have an emotional moment and have her break down doing this shit. Okay, this is dumb. Okay, let's talk about the other really, really bad actor inside this one, Johnny Depp as the Mad Hatter. Oh my god. When he's acting like the Mad Hatter in this movie, it actually is good. Because there's a scene really early on where they flash back to the Mad Hatter finding the little hat that sends him into depression. He's playing with all the other people, and he picks up a stick, and he's like, goes to that stupid talking dog, and he's like, hey, let's play fetch. The dog comes up, grabs the stick out of him. He's like, no, now you fetch. And then Johnny Depp starts acting like the dog, and the dog throws the stick for him, and he starts picking it up with his mouth. He's acting like that. The crazy Mad Hatter. Everything's topsy-turvy, backwards inside of Wonderland. When he's doing that, he's actually doing a good job. Unfortunately, after that, he sees the hat, and he goes into this depressional scene where he's just all moping about, and he's talking kind of like this the entire time, which I don't really understand, because the Mad Hatter had much more range and emotion back then. And this one, he has no range. He has no emotion. He's just mad and gloomy. Even when he gets happy after he finds out that his parents are still alive and they're gonna go save them, it's just, he doesn't do anything except talk like this. Look, when he does quirky, there's two types of quirky. There's the Jack Sparrow. He put a lot of effort trying to hone how he was. There was a method to the madness. He does that level quirky. Then he does stuff like this. This is the stupid shit quirky, where it's pretty clear that he's doing this for a paycheck. And it's not fun to watch. It's not. I give the lead a lot more credit inside this movie because she has to carry this convoluted plot, and she gives a shit. She's trying. She's actually acting like a human being. When she falls, she screams. When something is chasing her, she doesn't just blank face there. No, she actually emotes. It's pretty freaking cool that she's doing this. But when she and Sacha Baron Cohen are the only ones actually trying in this film, everyone else is phoning it in because they got here on contract. It's not an engaging watch. You see where I'm going with this? Could be classified as a bad movie. I think there's way too much effort put into the background visuals to actually say that it's a bad movie, but I can't call it a good one. I can tell you that I was entertained for the most part. There were very few parts that actually did drag for me, but the parts that did drag a lot. The acting is mixed at best with a couple of good performances and then just some really, really shitty ones that are just... I'm going to be in better shit later this year anyway, so I might as well just put this out there. Right, Miss Hathaway? Right, Mr. Depp? Okay, let's do this. Helena Bonham Carter? Yeah, she just screams. She just screams, that's it. There's nothing else to her character. Everyone else just shows up so that you're reminded that they were inside of the movie. Tweedledee and Tweedledum get like 2 lines. And most of those, I think those lines were actually given to their kid versions in the past. Yeah, they don't do jack shit. So, yeah, I know this has kind of been a confusing one where I just rambled a lot. There are good things about this film. And I do want to say that costume designer needs to be shot because, God, the costumes all look like shit. Times wasn't too bad, and Sacha Baron Cohen did make it work, but the Mad Hatter has no color variety. He's red and orange. That's it. Alice, when she goes to the party to find out her mother sold her shares and whatnot, wears a Chinese dress that was apparently good enough to wear for their emperor. It'll be good enough for us English prods. Yeah, it looks like shit. It's like rainbow colored, and this is not an accurate dress. Look, if you're gonna do the real world, actually do accurate shit. I know there are colorful Asian dresses and things like that, but actually give them a real one. Don't make up this weird Wonderland shit and then expect us to buy it in the real world, because she would not wear that in the real world. Nor would it be good enough to go see the Emperor of China. Nor would it be good enough or appropriate enough to bring to a Victorian era ball where everything is gray, which, subtlety, thy name is Alice in Wonderland. So, and then the Wonderland stuff, again, the costumes just, nothing, it all bled into the background. You're supposed to make things vibrant and pop. I know this is kind of continuing the tradition of the first Alice in Wonderland where everything was dark and moody, but even in that one, the Mad Hatter stuff popped. I don't know. Well, it looks like my camera's dying, so I've got to cut this up. So, yeah. My final verdict is still the confusing. At best, see it at a discounted price. At worst, just wait till Redbox. You're probably just going to wait for the Redbox. But yeah, that's it from me. Have you seen the video? Have you seen Alice Through the Looking Glass? Tell me what you thought about it in the comments below. Maybe we'll get some healthy discussion going. And as always, if you like what you see, be sure to hit the subscribe button, the like button, and the share button. And be sure to like me on Facebook, follow me on Twitch and Twitter. And yeah, that's it for me. So I'll see you all next time.